Whoa. Cowboys and Aliens. Yes, fantastic film. Went and saw it yesterday. Just to give it a review to everyone, I'm going to just say that I'm really surprised that I'm actually giving so many not so popular reviews, but positive reviews to movies that actually came out recently after doing The Rise of the Planet of the Apes. This was a bit of a surprise. I thought it was going to be awesome no matter what. It's Cowboys and Aliens in one movie. Mashup. Fun. I like the idea of that. Sci-fi western. Big fan of Serenity, Firefly. Even slightly a bit with Star Wars, a bit of a sci-fi western anyway. We get introduced to Daniel Craig really early on in the movie. First thing, big panning, beautiful shot of the countryside, the rocks, the desert, everything, and then just gasping breath from Daniel Craig, looking confused, sitting looking quite pathetic in the middle of a desert. Yes, this is actually, we're trying to bit spaghetti westerns here, like the guy waking up, no idea where he is, middle of the desert, let's go from there, let's see what happens. Great opening intro scene. Jon Favreau doesn't take any chances just about getting you into the action, getting stuff going on. Works really well. In fact, it works really well whenever it starts. Whenever it ends, it starts up with this really cool theme that kind of plays over the top of it. Western kind of feel to it with a little bit of synth in there to kind of imply the aliens and the sci-fi, and oh, I was ready. I was so ready to enjoy this film. I don't know, it's not going to give any kind of critical eye, I suppose. There's not much I can say that will be bad about it, because I honestly didn't think there's anything really bad about the movie. There's two things that I pointed out to other people whenever I was chatting about it that irked me, but there's things that kind of like a lot of films suffer from, and even good films suffer from. It's that second act stretch, that last bit where the exposition has to be put across at the end of the second act, so we can get to our big action number in the third act. It's a lot of films, and a lot of brilliant films have issues with that. It always is, because it's about fact shitting at that point. You have to get everything out so that the audience knows what's going on. And around about the same time is the one bit in the movie where I was just sitting there going, what the fuck is that? I'm not going to say anything to give actually specific details about it, but whenever you see the movie, which I highly recommend you do, go and see it, go and see it. In fact, go online now. I'll wait 20 seconds while you book on to get onto the website so you can come back to me. Go ahead. Yes, so now you've actually gone and booked yourself a ticket to go and see this. Good, now I can tell you a little more about it. Daniel Craig, fantastic in it. Surly, angry, ex-con, or not even ex-con, but career criminal. You can't really kind of question that. He's doing a pretty good job. He's surly, angry, and whatever else. Harrison Ford is really, well, I don't know, some people would have qualified it as being slightly schizophrenic in the role, where he's just completely unsavory in the beginning of the movie. He's not a nice guy in any way, shape or form, but he redeems himself. Like, the whole point is a redemption of character, I suppose, which is a very common trait in Western movies. So yeah, he does a very good job as well. And then him and Craig together, there's like one or two scenes that just really fit. Simple one, I'm not going to ruin any plot by saying this. Harrison Ford's pissed off at him, gives him rifle button to the stomach, and Daniel Craig just turns around and just cracks him across the face, and the two of them stand there for a good solid, I don't know, maybe 12 seconds just staring at each other. And they have that whole thing where they walk away. Like, nobody lost face, and both of them respect each other's kind of manliness, so they just move on. Fair play. The rest of the characters in the movie, Sam Rockwell is brilliant. Sam Rockwell doing a really good job with a character that doesn't really have a lot to do. So it's kind of one of those things where you go, yeah, fair enough. He did a great job. I think he gives a couple of good lines in it, and it's pretty funny. The guy who plays Boyd in Justified, or I'm pretty sure he plays Boyd, because the fact is, I'm almost sure he plays a guy called Boyd in this as well. So same guy. He's actually playing a Western version of his kind of character from Justified, well, with less of the kind of overarching religious context that he has, but he's fantastic in it as well. He's only got a few lines, but he's got wee setup lines that just seem really funny. And who else? The Preacher. The Preacher was fantastic as well. He was great. It's one of those things where a lot of, I don't know, maybe it's just my opinion of westerns from like Unforgiven and whatever else, because I wasn't a huge Western fan. I didn't watch a lot of Clint Eastwood ones. I'm very unknowledgeable about older westerns because it wasn't my thing. I was always cyberpunk, sci-fi, I always like space and whatever else, which is Cowboys and Aliens is awesome. But the whole role of the preacher kind of seems like he delivers that one line in the trailer that is, "I've seen good men do bad things, I've seen bad men do good things," which sets up, like, it's so early in the movie, it's not even a spoiler, it's said over the top of the trailer as if it's some big deal or whatever, but it's pretty much the true thing. It's the preacher, the hard-worn preacher who's like a gunslinger. He looks like a gunslinger, he looks like a old man who's finished war and decided to turn to God and whatever else and kind of made himself a niche in society, and plus the fact he's in the Sawbones as well, considering the fact that the actual doctor is the bartender. One of those weird things. Who else is actually really stands out in it? The adopted son, Harrison Ford's adopted son, he is cool. Just, it's one of those things where I need to find out more about that guy just so I can talk about him more, but he comes across really well in that movie. He's pivotal to actually the revelation of Harrison Ford's character, so he's very important to him. It gets a great moment near enough the end of the movie. Just a couple of good bits. What can I really point out otherwise? Because I'm trying to make this a quick one so I don't talk too much about it and ruin the movie, but I wanted to kind of hit a few main points along the way. Yes, the aliens. The aliens are great. I love seeing practical effects used for alien costumes designed for monsters. Like, it's fine and grand, there's a lot of CG dropped in there as well, but there's some beautifully visceral about seeing a bed, like kind of slightly moving flesh or like a carapace to it and all. The aliens are honestly, they're I don't know, maybe I'm a bit jaded, but I still thought they will scare a few people just with their appearance. They kind of look really well done. They do have that kind of little bit of thing where they're like the elite out of Halo, if you're a gamer and you know what I'm talking about. Kind of that not really predator face, but yeah, you know, that kind of thing. There's one bit with the aliens that is absolutely fantastic. It's a setup in Daniel Craig's backstory, and it pays off so well. I mean, it's one of those things where you're sitting down where you mostly see alien movies where they're unimaginable killing machines. They have no point, no context, they have no reason for doing what they're doing. They're there to eat, kind of like the aliens from Aliens. But these ones actually have a purpose where they're there. I'll get into that shortly after I talk about this bit. But it shows that they think, that they plan, they prepare, in this particular case, actually have revenge, which just pays off so well in that one scene. Again, trying to avoid spoilers, but still pointing out bits and pieces that you will see when you see the film. So you can just read from my excitement that it's kind of cool. What else is interesting? Yes, the overarching thing about Cowboys and Aliens. The Cowboys and Aliens, it's not just Cowboys and Aliens. Actually, there is Native Americans. There's actually the population of the country kind of fighting back all together. So it's actually a three-way thing. And at one point there is like a bit of conflict between two, but then they finally realize each other. They're both humans versus aliens. So let's kick some ass. In doing so, they they broach the subject of what the aliens are there to do. But there doesn't seem to be any kind of, because we're looking at it with a historical eye rather than probably what was occurring at the time. The invasion of the aliens, the colonization by the aliens, reflects the Westerners coming into Native American territory, killing them off and taking their land and stealing their gold. Yeah, it's one of those things where the point's there, you know it's there, you know that's what they're putting across. But they don't labour it, they don't make a point of it, they don't kind of have one person shout about it to somebody else. It exists in the background and you can get a bit of a read from it. And then the fact that they're working together as well kind of paste over the top of it, kind of spackle houses it a little, just to ignore what kind of context that means, the genocide that it actually is. Which is pointedly made about the general that Harrison Ford plays, the fact of how many people he's killed. And make this whole thing about the fact he's a great tactician and warrior and stuff in the past, but that's fairly late on in the movie. The female lead in the movie, there's the two things that I don't like, or I didn't like about the movie, like the second act stretch and the what the fuck moment scene, both relate to her. So it's one of those things where the two things I don't like about this entire movie she is a very integral part of, but she's kind of awesome everywhere else. Like, I mean, the bar scene that's shown in the trailer, where Daniel Craig beats the crap out of a few guys, knocks them around, pulls out the shotgun on them at the end, and then she cold clocks him in the back of the head. She's got a aggressive, actiony side to her, which is pretty cool, and she's still fairly flirtatious and conversational, and she kind of holds her own in her scenes. But those two bits just, for me, one, it's kind of stopped the movie dead slightly for the second bit, and the what the fuck just kind of it could have, in my opinion, could have been done slightly earlier, or explained slightly earlier, or kind of give a preparatory thing where there was disbelief and then it was proven. That way that scene would have made more sense. Still trying to be very broad about what I'm talking about without telling anybody what goes on, but you see it, you'll understand what I'm saying. The bit walking beforehand, if it had been explained then, and then it kind of cut to them explaining it to everyone else later without having to do the long dialogue of people asking questions, that scene could have been a lot shorter. Probably would have cut some of the interaction between the Native Americans and the rest of the cast, but I don't know. That's something that I wouldn't mind seeing the original comic book to figure out what the pacing was on that, or if that was actually a big deal at the time, or they've kind of cut that for time for anything else. Again, that's one of the things I probably should have pointed out at the very beginning. Another comic book movie. Comic book movie that, as far as I know, this is me doing this without preparation, so I'm trying to do it from memory of somebody else tell me, so he said that she said Chinese whispers about it. Or is it Chinese whispers? I don't even know. Originally it was written as a movie script that didn't get picked up, that then was made into a comic book, that then was popular enough that they then could sell it back because of the explosion of comic book movies. So it's one of those interpretation, reinterpretation, back and forth until it finally got made. So I'm sure there's something that was lost from the original script, something that was lost from the comic book, something that was gained back and forth in it. But yeah, comic book movie, always happy to see another one. Appropriation of geekery is always good, especially if it's done well. I really should grab a hold of the comic books to sit down and read sometime. I want to know if they actually were good. I know characters are redrawn, or they're drawn differently than they are perceived in the comic book. In fact, looking at Daniel Craig, I watched Wild Wild West last night. Daniel Craig looks a bit, like in the very beginning of the movie anyway, whenever he starts off, like he's so bedraggled and horrible and stuff. Whenever he dresses himself up, it's one of those things where he's quite well dressed cowboy. I think a lot of people seem to be quite clean cut and whatever else, and I don't know, maybe I was expecting something a little bit grimier. The language, chatting about grimier, doesn't do the Deadwood route. I don't think there's any swearing in the movie at all. There's a gosh darn it or two, which makes sense because that's what actual swear words were. That's why Deadwood was so overt with the amount of swearing in it, because of the fact that in the time period swear words were different. That would have been height of not immorality, but impoliteness to actually say Jesus, Mary and Joseph, which in fact is actually used. Harrison Ford is the one who actually says that. So yeah, blasphemy. Movie wise, other than that, and then trying to think about it, don't leave any dead air here while I'm sitting thinking about scenes that are actually really stand out. There's pretty much, there's the bit that's shown in the trailer that we all see with the town being destroyed. Looks great on the cinema screen. It's one of those things where I'd recommend going and seeing it. Not even waiting for the DVD release, I suppose. Well, the DVD release, if you've got a good enough TV, big enough TV and whatever else, good quality in HD or Blu-ray, you'll be seeing all this as well. But the special effects, explosions and stuff, really well done. It's good to see practical pod explosions. It just, I liked it. I liked seeing it. It's one of those things where marrying CGI with some good practicals is the best. There's something just more visceral and believable about it, especially when you have so many people and animals reacting on screen, which is one of the things you probably couldn't even do. Like, you'd have to CGI the horses if you were doing a CGI explosion, because the horses wouldn't react in a correct enough way for them to be freaking out and running away, unless they're very well trained horses. I'm sure there's not that many of them floating around. They're all busy doing Game of Thrones over here. After the houses and like the town scene, there's another scene in a large location as well. There's a bit that involves the young kid. That's something I've completely forgotten out of the cast. The young kid. There's one line in the movie where it's like, we've got a mutt and a kid, we might as well have a woman. The kid doesn't, like, I mean, he's got a connection to Harrison Ford's character in that he communicates with him, and he kind of softens Harrison Ford's character whenever it does show him talking, and then he also hardens up immediately again afterwards, so he's kind of like that all over the shop kind of thing going on. But the kid himself and the dog, I think that must be something that's a holdover from the comic book that seems to have actually been changed maybe, or they might have been as all important in the second one either. Kid has a couple of good scenes. So like one-on-one with one of the aliens, which is I think he's the first one who actually gets a good look. So it kind of the terror angle probably is enhanced by that, which is a good idea. I suppose one of the adults would have been a little bit more kind of standoffish and attacked or anything, but having a kid being attacked, the vulnerability, it works a little bit better. Plus you get to see the first opening scenes with that the armor and body and stuff, and kind of sets it up for someone later on, which is pretty cool. But outside of that, it's not brilliant. I'm trying to think what else. It's practical effect. Oh, the effects on the gun. You've already seen the wristband that Daniel Craig running. Hoping to see somebody build one of those for a cosplay for Halloween, which would be very cool to see. Especially if you can get somebody who actually get the twitch right for it to do that and the hand around. But that's just search the internet. I'm sure somebody's already doing that. If people can make a Pip-Boy that works, I'm pretty sure you can make that. Like the Pip-Boy with the iPhone holder and stuff. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen that. Yeah. In fact, if I find it, it's going to be down there. The wristband, yes, it looks cool. Its functionality, its system, the fact that people react to it the way they do works really well because of the technology type here. There's a great scene about flying, which is one of the things we're going, why would anybody want to do that? Well, yeah, it's a different time period, different reasons why people wouldn't want to be doing that kind of thing in that time. It would be scary, just unnatural. Trying to think of anything else. The whole snatching up people thing, it seemed, it kind of has a, I don't know, but to me that has a really retro-y vibe about it. The technology kind of, and then the ships themselves kind of, in the night, especially in that first opening scene, don't look as kind of transformery or like a bit techy as they do later on. In that bit they kind of look very kind of, I don't know, War of the Worlds kind of like the smooth body shapes, 1960s, 70s kind of, I think it's the shadows and the light and whatever else that plays in them. You don't see them as being so technically designed or aerodynamic. They don't even look very aerodynamic as well, but they don't look like Michael Bay Transformers, I suppose is the way I'm trying to make it. Not overly complicated for the point of being overly complicated, so parts moving over top of each other. You see that later on in the daylight, but in the night they kind of just have a very small profile. It's like those lights floating in the sky kind of thing. What else of real importance is there to actually really talk about in the movie? Daniel Craig, Harrison Ford. Well, what they're doing on the planet, which is simple enough, is prospectors, which is kind of pretty funny. Like I said previously, it's a colonization attempt. The aliens themselves, kind of, they're non-talkers, they're growlers and whatever else. So it's one of those things about societies. They're just there to capture or whatever else. I don't even think those are meant to be leaders or whatever. Like they're meant to be scouts of some sort. So all in all, Cowboys and Aliens, two enthusiastic thumbs the fuck up. Great, I highly recommend go and see it. The young kids will like it. I think they'll be a little bit scared by the aliens if they're of a sensitive disposition. But again, it all goes right in the end. Like you're not going to expect anything to be horrible or really, really downtrodden about this movie. Emotional connection to characters. You like Craig, you like his character, or Jake. He actually plays like Daniel Craig. I might as well call him his character named Jake. Jake he's unsavory but likable. Harrison Ford, evil guy in the beginning. Like it's one of the things where his introduction to in the movie is one of the things going, oh wow, you're a douche. Well worth watching just for his change around, and Harrison Ford kind of goes ups and downs and lefts and rights with that, and but he does change solidly. He kind of has those momentary things and then goes back to it and then changes it finally. Female lead, she had that bit out of fucking nowhere, which was the only thing that maybe annoyed me about the film, and everybody else fantastic. Sam Rockwell, nice wee emotional end for him. It's one of those things where, yeah, I think Rockwell and the preacher and the adopted kid all steal scenes that they're in. The adopted kid say his is so important to Harrison Ford's character that they need that together. Sam Rockwell kind of gives a couple of wee funny lines. The Preacher, one of the things where I was reading through it, he seemed like a much more important character in the early parts, but then what happens. So it's one of those things where I'm assuming that would have been a big twist, like a last panel punch on like maybe the 4th or 5th issue or 3rd or 4th issue. I don't have no idea what the original comic run is. I assume on a 13 issue run or something like that, or even 26 issue, mattering on American scales, I don't know. But it would have been like what happens. It would have been a punch at the end of one of the comic books, and you'll get surprised. I got surprised by it whenever I saw it in the movie. Other than that, really, I can't say anything else without ruining the movie. Go and see it, enjoy. Cowboys versus Aliens.